The year is 1066. On the shores of England, two armies stand on opposite sides of a battlefield, ready for a confrontation that will forever change the course of English history. This was the Battle of Hastings, where William the Conqueror, Duke of Normandy, would face off against King Harold II of England. The outcome? A pivotal moment that would bring Norman rule to England and reshape its social and political landscape. In the years leading up to 1066, England was in a state of uncertainty. The Anglo-Saxon king, Edward the Confessor, who had no heirs, died in January of that year. His death left a power vacuum and multiple claimants to the English throne. One of the strongest claims was from Harold II, the most powerful noble in England and the brother-in-law of Edward. But Harold wasn't the only one with a claim. Duke William of Normandy also believed he had the right to the throne. His claim was based on an alleged promise made by Edward the Confessor, and on the fact that Harold had sworn an oath of loyalty to William during a visit to Normandy. In 1064, Harold had been shipwrecked on the coast of Normandy, where he was captured and allegedly swore an oath of loyalty to William, promising to support his claim to the throne. However, when Harold later accepted the crown of England, William felt betrayed, and a confrontation became inevitable. As summer of 1066 approached, both William and Harold were preparing for what they knew would be a decisive battle. Harold, having recently fought off a Norwegian invasion in the north at the Battle of Stamford Bridge, hurried south with his exhausted army. William, meanwhile, had spent months gathering forces and building an invasion fleet, ready to cross the English Channel. On the morning of September 28, 1066, after weeks of anticipation, William's fleet set sail from Normandy, landing on the shores of England. Harold, who had already marched his army up north to fight the Norwegians, now had to rush back to the south to defend his throne. Harold's forces had traveled over 200 miles in just a few days, and now faced the difficult task of confronting a well-prepared and battle-hardened Norman army, whose troops included infantry, archers, and cavalry, something Harold's Anglo-Saxon army was less equipped to deal with. On October 14th, the two armies faced each other at the now famous Battle of Hastings. Harold's forces, about 7,000 strong, were primarily infantry, arranged in a shield wall. This was a classic Anglo-Saxon tactic: tight ranks, shields locked together, and an impenetrable defense. Harold had positioned his men on the top of Senlac Hill, where they held the high ground. William's army, which was also around 7,000 strong, was made up of a diverse mix of soldiers: Norman knights mounted on horseback, archers, and infantry. Unlike Harold's army, William's forces were equipped with cavalry and long-range weapons, which would play a key role in the battle. The battle began with archers from both sides launching volleys of arrows. While the English held their position and defended well, the Normans began their assault with cavalry charges and feigned retreats to lure the English soldiers out of their strong defensive positions. As the battle wore on, the shield wall began to weaken. William, a brilliant tactician, used deception to his advantage. He ordered a feigned retreat. Norman soldiers pretended to flee, drawing the English forces into an open position. But it was a trap. It was during this moment of chaos that tragedy struck. According to legend, Harold II was struck in the eye by an arrow, causing him to fall gravely wounded. His death shattered the morale of his army. With their king dead, Harold's army began to collapse. The Normans, sensing victory, launched a full-scale assault, breaking through the weakened English lines. Within hours, the battle was lost, and the Anglo-Saxon resistance crumbled. William the Conqueror had won a decisive victory, but at a cost. Thousands of men on both sides lay dead. Despite the brutality of the battle, William's forces were now masters of the field and, soon, of England itself. With Harold dead and the Anglo-Saxon resistance shattered, William marched into London. On Christmas Day, 1066, he was crowned King of England in Westminster Abbey, forever changing the course of English history. William's victory at Hastings brought Norman rule to England. Over the next few years, the Normans would introduce feudalism, a system of land ownership and loyalty that drastically altered English society. Castles were built to fortify Norman control, and many Anglo-Saxon nobles were replaced by Norman lords, creating a new aristocracy. The impact of the Battle of Hastings was profound. One of William's first acts as king was to commission the Domesday Book, a detailed survey of England's land and people, which laid the foundation for taxation and governance under Norman rule. Over time, the Normans and Anglo-Saxons began to merge. The blending of cultures led to changes in the English language, law, and culture. French words entered the English lexicon, and a new Norman-influenced nobility emerged, forever altering the face of medieval England. The Battle of Hastings was more than just a single day of conflict. It marked the beginning of a new era for England, one of conquest, transformation, and growth. From that day on, England would never be the same. Today, we still see the echoes of William's conquest in the architecture, language, and institutions of England. Like, subscribe and share for more historical explorations.